Hello, everyone. This is Tom. Welcome to Lone Wolf Preppers, Dukes of Hazzard Friday Night Live. And what a world we live in. Makes Hazzard County look like a normal place nice place to live. Anyway, we'll do a little bit of channel update here real quick. The channel's still growing. Appreciate everybody watching the videos, subscribing, stuff like that, helping spread the truth. That's the thing about this channel. Place where we can just come and discuss what's going on and how to fix the problems and organize. Very important that we organize. By the way, one reason the channel is growing is because of my Thought of the Day series. It's not doing too bad. I'm sure it's definitely getting a few people to do some thinking. Anyway, I get a lot of nasty comments because of that. That's okay. I mean, the whole purpose of it is to get people to think. Okay? Whether you agree with me or not, I don't really care. It's just to get you to think. Open your mind a little bit. Hi, Carol. How you doing tonight? Anyway, I just started, so you haven't missed much. But I was talking about my thought of the day. How you liking that series? And what did you think? I finally got a video of those swans and their 4 babies. Finally. You know how long that's been trying to get them? Because once they see me, if I'm not quick enough, boom, they disappear into the reeds. And that group kind of just stood there and stayed there and swam around. I thought it was cute. But I've been trying to get one of them for a couple days. But anyway, that's the first time I really got to see a good baby swan. So anyway, yeah, the thought of the day is really helping the channel grow and stuff. But the one from today, I guess that must have been a little bit too spicy for them because they're really locking that one down. I don't understand it, but whatever. But I'm not going to stop doing it. That's one thing, YouTube. I don't give up. I just don't give up. I'm the Terminator. I don't know how to give up. I just keep proceeding with the mission. Anyway, yeah, the channel's still growing. I sure appreciate everything. But lately, the last few days, ever since I put that short on about UFOs, Bigfoot, and Joe Biden, they didn't like that one too much. So they've put the governor on my channel. You know, if you're on the interstate like it is out here out west where it's 80 miles an hour, and the governor they got me set at is 1 mile an hour going down that interstate while everybody else is flying 80. But you know what? I'm still moving forward. And that's the important thing. So what are the and then I get the analytics of this channel, the graphs and stuff, the information about what's on about the views and stuff. And I can see that they're doing that, putting the governor on. I just don't understand it. Like the swans. I mean, they won't let that one go. Really? I see how many times it's been put on the feed. So, but whatever, and it's getting 80% view rate with 200% duration of view where they're watching it twice. Yeah, the last thing you want is that video on the feed. So this is what I'm dealing with. And then they're not sending out notifications. I got a deal from a subscriber. Oh, I'm getting into that real quick, Carol. The debate last night, I'm getting real into that. I made a video last night. I was watching. I had to start making a video because I couldn't watch it no more. I just need to go over this channel stuff. Anyway, notifications ain't going out. I had a subscriber tell me they got one 3 days after the video went out, but I guess that's good. And they're not allowing people to hit thumbs up, and they're deleting comments and all the stuff they do to conservative channels. Okay, but remember, the mainstream media said that YouTube is now a conservative and Christian platform. That's right up there with those cheap fakes. So anyway, but the channel's growing, so I appreciate it. But now let's get into the meat and potatoes, the debate. What did we see last night? Well, I'll tell you what us conservatives saw. Us conservatives saw the same man that we saw 4 years ago running for president that wouldn't leave his basement. That's what we saw. And now they got in a position where the whole world got to see it. Okay? That's what they saw. I mean, who on our side is surprised? I can't believe they actually had the debate, to be honest with you. I thought they would have had called it off for one reason or another, because we all could see that this man cannot stand up to Trump. But anyway, JoJo, we see why he wouldn't leave his basement, and he should have stayed in his basement this time. But anyway, and then, to see the state of our country like this, complete embarrassment, what he did. He embarrassed the whole nation last night. And he definitely, he was personally embarrassed, I would say, at a personal level too. How could you not have been? I mean, Jill should be real proud of herself for what she's putting her husband through, which her husband should be in a nursing home. But don't worry, he's in the White House running our country. Okay. I mean, he was so bad last night that they can't even call this a cheap fake. They can't spin this in any way to make it look like he did good. That's pretty bad when not one of them can spin it. Okay. And, like I say, taking advantage of an elderly man. So these people that behind him, behind the curtain, can use him, exploit him to further their agenda to enslave us and crush the Constitution. I mean, that's another thing we saw last night. This man, I got a question. Who's running the country? After what you saw last night, do you think this man is honestly in charge of the nuclear codes? If he actually knew what they were, he'd be walking around giving them to ghosts that he sees on the screen. Yeah. They definitely had him drugged. I mean, I sat there and watched it. I watched like the first 40 minutes of it, okay? And yeah, it looked like he would definitely, like he was tweaking. I've seen enough tweakers in my time. Okay, and his aggressiveness and he obviously had an earpiece in. That was obvious as can be. If anybody's seen somebody with an earpiece and that look they get when they're listening to the earpiece and not really paying attention, for that split second. Anyway, but they had him drugged up. That's abusing him. I mean, I don't know how to feel about it. If I should feel sorry for him or he's getting his just rewards. Well, he's getting his just rewards. You know what the thing is, I think he's looking like he's just a few steps away from death's door. He may not even live to the election. He needs to start repenting in his life. Like King Herod. But he didn't repent either. But I mean, start doing stuff to give him few more gold stars. Anyway, what they're doing to him is unreal. I mean, yeah. Who's in charge of our country? Okay. That's all I got to ask when I see that. who is in charge of our country. We know is it a group of people? Is it one person that's pulling the strings? Anyway, he can't even jump around like a puppet anymore. I mean, and then, when the first time he got screwed up and was losing his train of thought and going off in the la la land, and Jake Tapper, your time's up, saved his ass. Anyway, I just saw that. I mean, it was getting, and then the bickering back and forth. And Trump and Biden saying a bold-faced lie, and Trump defending the truth. Okay? Like when Biden said that we've only given $200 billion worth of armaments to Ukraine. Bullcrap. We get them money too. Flat out lies. And then they're bringing up January 6th. You know what? The Capitol wasn't stormed. People were invited in. The only ones that were breaking up the Capitol were the Antifa and the instigators and stuff. I mean, if they want us patriots to get really pissed off, that would have looked a lot different than it did. And frankly, some of our problems would have been solved already. But what they're doing to this man, drugged up. It was so obvious. And then can you imagine being a nurse or like Prepper Nurse 1, the job he had, to see an elderly person when his job was just caring about elderly people, for elderly people and disabled people, to have to sit there and see that on TV? That's criminal. I'll get later on in the video, I'll get into some of the topics that, now that we got this going on with Joe Biden and stuff, the reason for the debate to discuss the topics. Now we're not discussing the topics. So I'm going to get later into discussing the topics. But yeah, JoJo was higher than a kite. That's what you do to an old man, right? Anyway, now we got the consequences of last night we got to deal with. I mean, as soon as it was over, CNN's on there saying, woo, he ain't looking so good. Van Jones, I mean, I thought he was going to start crying. Okay? They know that Joe lost the election last night. If you were an independent, I mean, there's no question who you're going to be voting for. All right, you can't. I got a person to call. His mother's going to vote for Biden. I don't think after last night she's going to be voting for Biden because she said she voted for Reagan. So I can't believe. He kept looking down at the floor, and there's a minute. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was listening to his earpiece. And then did you notice Trump was always looking into the camera, looking at the American people. And Joe's like looking over there like a neighbor, constantly peeking on their other neighbor to see what they're doing. Paranoid. It doesn't matter. We all saw Trump is, whatever how old he is, he could live another 30 years. I definitely feel he can make another 4 as president. But I don't even think Joe Biden, like you say, I thought he was going to have a medical emergency last night. I really did. And maybe he was having one. That could be possible too. I'm not a medical expert, but, he embarrassed the whole nation. Okay. I'll just get into that later. Our enemies. But now they realize that JoJo can't win. So now he needs to be replaced. So now they're screaming for a replacement. Who are they going to get to replace him in 4 months? Okay. Now I was a firm believer Barack Obama would be able to run again. But I looked at 22nd Amendment. It's worded differently than I remember learning in school. Okay. I was young. Reagan was in office, that type of stuff. Okay. But, okay, the 22nd Amendment. Now, what have the Democrats been saying? What has Hillary said? What has JoJo said? Some about the amendments not being absolute. Remember that? Our amendments, our constitutional rights and the amendments are not absolute. And how long would it take this kangaroo Congress we have to sit there and nullify? It just, where there's a will, there's a way. But there ain't nobody else that can do it. I mean, Gavin Newsom, are you kidding me? It'd be like putting Hunter Biden on the ticket. They're pretty much in the same, or Nancy Pelosi. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't let up. See, the thing with Barack Obama, if they were able to pull that off, all the independents that don't want riots in the street on November 6th. Remember, in 2016, he was filling sports stadiums, just like Trump. People were feigning. You know, it was, I mean, just, it was crazy. Everybody knew, or I mean, 2000 or 2008. I said 2006, 2008. I'm sorry. Got to go back further. But everybody knew in 2008 Barack Obama was going to win. That was obvious. Okay. It's obvious that none of these people, Michelle Obama, that'd be nothing but a sideshow attraction. Can you imagine Michelle Obama debating Trump? Okay. He would have to be really nice because he could destroy her worse than he destroyed bumbling Joe Biden. Okay. And I do believe that the first woman president should probably have a little bit more job experience than Michelle Obama. Okay. But anyway, so they're talking about replacing him. I just, what do you do? These people finally have their eyes open that JoJo sucks and they can't win. And they're, it really brought out too that their policies suck. That way, with his such bad performance, it showed that their policies suck because he couldn't come with a coherent way of making it sound good. He made it sound truthful. He wasn't able to spin the lie. But if they're able to swing Barack Obama, I don't know. Our 22nd Amendment. But technically, let's go back to 2008. Was he really qualified to run for president the first time? It's amazing when all your relatives are not residents of the United States. By the way, in the birth certificate thing. But, in the Constitution. Since when does that get in their way? When does that ever stop them from wanting to torment us or put the screws to us? And then I'll get into that too later with the Supreme Court. That's after this, the thing with Kamala Harris. Could they put her in and do the cheat and make it look like it wasn't a cheat? I don't know, but I mean, okay, now our world leaders, Putin and Xi Jinping and little Rocket Man over there who doesn't respect us no more at all. Obviously, after last night, what's he got to fear? Okay, but after last night, can you imagine these world leaders having to sit there and deal with another U.S. president that's just as worthless as Joe Biden? These people can't be taken seriously. Another thing, America needs to stay tough. We need to be tough. Okay. The world's about to become a crazy place. We need Trump in there. Maybe he can stop some of this craziness. I don't know. I've never been president before. I don't know what kind of. He's a smart man, but I don't think he's going to launch nuclear weapons and destroy the whole world to make sure he's still elected president. But anyway, you know, call him for a replacement. Call him for a replacement. Who's it going to be? I don't know, but we're going to find out. And I just don't know how any of these people are supposed to go against Trump and win. I think these countries don't respect us. They have nothing to fear no more. I mean, do you really, really think that we're going to go to war with China over Taiwan? It's never going to happen, people. It'll never happen. We cannot do it. That's a whole nother ocean away. And then what's the U.S. going to do when we start, I don't know, let's say 30, 40 cities just get bombed with conventional weapons in one day? Americans are going to be crying for peace. By the way, yeah, we're not respected no more, and that makes us it's a dangerous situation. Dangerous situation. When the big bully, who's been the bully for years, and I'll have to admit, I was part of that for a while, but it's a dangerous situation. So, whoever they replace him with, I don't know. But I would say the logical choice, if they can't get Barack Obama in there, would have to be Gavin Newsom. But I don't know. He can't win. But, my next subject, okay? So if they can't find nobody, will the Democrats just concede the election and worry about regathering their forces and focus on 2028? I don't know. But if they do that, they will lose the House of Representatives and the Senate too, because Democrats won't come out to vote. And it's going to be a red landslide, which is another thing I'm going to bring into my Supreme Court decision. Okay. But it'll be a red landslide. I believe all strong force should have opposition. Okay. And we don't need the pendulum to swing way over there and become a nationalistic country. And it can lead to bad things. If you study history, swinging the pendulum from, like from the Weimar Republic, which was extremely liberal, to the Nazi, the very nationalistic party, the Nazis. That's a prime example of what happens when the pendulum swings too much. And the Supreme Court, like I say, I'll get into, just help that if the wrong person ever gets in. Anyway, but I don't think they will. I just don't think they can give up the White House. I mean, they've committed too many crimes. They've done too much stuff that's against the people and the Constitution. And if Trump does get in there, he needs to expose all this, because they all need to be punished for crimes that they actually committed, not made up stuff, but crimes they actually committed. The only way to ensure this doesn't happen again in our lifetime is to expose it now. But you got the FBI and the ATF doing their 6 a.m. raids, shooting people down in the street. I mean, you throw a flash grenade or flash grenade into a house at 6 a.m. Yeah, somebody's probably going to come running out, especially if they don't know you're coming. Because you shoot them down, right? And then Afghanistan. What a crime there. And then they're going to get on Trump. I mean, another thing in the debate where Biden lied his ass off, okay? And Trump's defending the truth. That's all you heard last night. Biden lying his butt off, Trump defending the truth. But you know what? Trump defending the truth, people heard the truth last night because the liar couldn't do his job right. Okay. And then another reason I don't think they're going to give it up is because, I mean, the swamp really messed with Trump these last 4 years. And hopefully he goes in there determined and doesn't give a shit if he pisses somebody off and be like The Apprentice. You're fired. You're going to jail. And then get on TV every week and go down and tell the public. Instead of hiding it, tell the public what they're guilty of and what they did, their acts against the American people. Get it so they're wanting to spend the rest of their life in prison. Because if they ever walk down the street again in America, they won't live one block. Okay? Also, okay, and when I was talking about Afghanistan, how they screwed up everything from Afghanistan to having cocaine in the White House. Right? Secret Service can't figure out who did that. I mean, every inch of that White House is videotaped 24/7, and you can't see who did that. Okay, I don't remember that being in his bedroom or the living quarters, the bedrooms or the bathrooms, but whatever. So I mean, they to give it up. The American people are going to demand that these criminals be brought to justice. Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Turtles, Mitch McConnell, Democrats and Republicans. They're both crooked. Okay? By the way, so I don't think they're going to concede. So what's the other choice? JoJo stays in. What can JoJo do to win the election? Well, first, he can have no election. And I made a video about that a couple days ago about no election. And my view on it is if we have no election, that means no government exists anymore, including your school board. Anybody you vote for on there, that form of government no longer exists, including, God help it, even the sheriff's department. But this is stuff they can do to have no election. They could start World War III. They're doing a pretty good job of that. Ukraine's hitting inside Russia and stuff now with our stuff. You got Russia saying they're going to attack, our command and control centers. You got him and Rocket Man driving around in an SUV together, smiling and joking. You got Russian ships now sailing down our coast. Chinese on the other side. Subs and stuff. Remember a few years ago? God, how many years ago was it? It may have been 10 years ago now already. When they had that, when somebody captured on video what looked like a missile that was launched from something off the shore of California, and they said it was some plane or whatever, when it was obviously a missile. This is just the danger we're in, okay? But yeah, start World War III. I mean, they got the equipment over there. The only thing they need is the men now. So they'd have to actually get the draft first. He don't have the time to get the draft, the men trained. I mean, we're going to be going against a Russian army. And I know why North Korea is sending troops there. So the North Korean troops can get combat experience. It's all about getting the experience, not just training, but getting the experience. Yeah, something's going to pop off. Like I say, what choice does Russia have? We basically told Putin, if you come out of Russia, we're going to arrest you, try you, and execute you. We're going to carve Russia up into little parts. Russia's not saying that about the U.S. How would you feel being a Russian with the U.S. sitting there telling a Russian like you, not a politician, not a movie star there or whatever, just a normal guy who goes to work, or a normal woman that goes to work, comes home to their kids, takes care of their family, loves their grandkids, what gets up, watches the presidential debate in the United States, see what you saw. No, and that's a country that's telling you they want to divide you up. And that's the man in charge of the nuclear weapons. Would you feel safe? Would you feel safe if Joe Biden was your neighbor and he had a gun? To make it simple, would you feel safe? Especially if you had a flag flying in your yard with a "Don't Tread on Me" flag. Would you trust him with? Would you trust your neighbor as Joe Biden with a gun? We got to make this simple. Anyway, World War III, that's one way to do it. Another way. Well, we've had our borders wide open, and even though JoJo says there's no data to prove that criminals and terrorists are coming over the border, okay, but all these young men that are strapping young men, better shaped than our young men in this country, with no families and no children, are coming over, okay, and they're from Syria. You name the country that hates us, that's where they're coming through. That's where they're coming from. So we could have a massive, like, Tet offensive in this country. What if we started having a Tet offensive on November 3rd? Wow, wouldn't that change things? People would be scared to go out and vote. Starting to see how dangerous this is. Okay? Or we could have the dollar collapse, which would become a third world country overnight, which would mean we would have no more health and human services department, no more welfare system. Just imagine what kind of chaos that would cause. Here's another one. But if we do have an election, and unless they get Barack Obama in somehow, Trump's going to have a landslide. Okay? If they got to bring the election, Trump's going to win. And then what's going to happen? The cities are going to burn. If you're in a liberal city, I would really suggest getting out of there right now. I would, find a winter job in Mexico. Would probably be safe. But yeah, the world's a dangerous place now because all the world leaders saw JoJo, not just the United States, but and can you imagine? This is what Putin's been dealing with for the last few years with this war going. And people in America thought it was going to end. Russia's a little stronger than the United States right now. Okay, that's quite obvious. We've had weak leadership for years. And all this craziness that we've been letting go in this country weakened our morality, and just having women guys dressed in women's uniforms in the military, whatever. Okay, But everybody saw that the U.S. is weak. Just like that short I put on, Carol, I've seen it, the one about the State of the Union. Yeah, I put that a couple days before the State of the Union. And that was another one that YouTube didn't want to show. They put it on the feed like 40 times. That was it. And so I just decided to go through there and do what I did. And I could have done that a better time. It's amazing how things just work out sometimes. But yeah, okay. Weak and impotent. And as the big bully of the world, that's a pretty bad spot to be in for us American people. Okay. Now, because of all this, all right, now we're not talking the distraction. I should call it a distraction because it's a good thing that happened last night. But now now we're not talking about the meat and potatoes that's bothering it. That's the problems of this country. Okay, they brought up how Trump spent $8 trillion in his 4 years, and Biden only spent over $4 trillion or whatever. How about instead, Trump wanting to have tariffs and get rid of the IRS, but I'm not hearing nothing about spending cuts. Okay, we can bring in more money as a government, but if we keep spending 10% more than we bring in, 10, 20% more, we're never going to get better. Okay, I want to see spending cuts. I want to see downsizing of the government. The president cabinet needs to shrink a little bit. We don't need the Department of Homeland Security. That's what we got the FBI for. Okay? We don't need the Department of Health and Human Services. We got plenty of jobs that need to be filled after all the illegals get deported. Definitely don't need the Department of Education. Department of Agriculture, really? The farmers just love their jobs, their lives now, since they allowed the government to completely take over everything and determine their crop prices for the next, until they're alive. Okay? Get rid of all that garbage. So we didn't talk about that. And then they talked about abortion. I'm so tired of hearing about abortion. It's not the Constitution. If it's not in the Constitution, it shouldn't be on debate stage. Okay? That is a personal choice. That's a state's issue since it's not the Constitution. It's covered by the 10th Amendment. That's up to the states to determine the laws on that. If you want to use abortion as your means of birth control or whatever, then go to a state that allows it. That's the thing about the United States of America. Each state is its own country. And if the Constitution doesn't cover, the state gets to make up the decisions about that. Okay? So we're all the little separate countries. And then, like me, when I didn't like living in a liberal state, I decided to move out of that state and get away from it and move to a conservative state. So I don't need the federal government coming down on me harder than the state I came from did. Okay? That's all you got to do. You only got to push your values and your beliefs on me, okay? And make me live by your rules, okay? That was one thing, okay? And then they brought up the Supreme Court. When Trump was talking about, what was he talking about? Putting the 3 conservative judges on there. I can't remember what it was about. Maybe it was about the border or something. I can't remember. But anyway, you're a Supreme Court judge. You're on the bench. Tell me, what does your personal bias have anything to do with your interpretation of the Constitution? It was written so easily that a simple man can understand it. Like, shall not be infringed. It's amazing. All these judges and lawyers just can't seem to understand what that means. Okay? That means any law against the Second Amendment and all these permits you got to get and all this other stuff is against the Constitution, not constitutional. Okay. But no political bias. Oh, great. Trump's going to get in. We can get the Supreme Court, 9 justices, all thinking the same way. We always need a little opposition. It keeps us moral and straight. You know, that's one thing that happens in a country when everybody thinks the same, like in Nazi Germany, and everybody's nationalistic. I mean, if you just read history and study history, you know why history repeats itself? Because people are the same. All the travels I did through the world on, these other countries and stuff, the core person is still the same. And that same core person that's still the same no matter where I went all over the world, that's the same core person that existed 4,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. Just because they didn't have the technology doesn't mean they didn't act the same. Okay. And then JoJo, of course, saying no data to support these criminals and terrorists coming over. Lie. That's when they got so tired. I got so tired of Joe Biden saying a lie and Donald Trump having to defend the truth and then bickering. And I'm definitely glad I turned it off so I didn't have to listen to about his golf game. It's a presidential debate and we're listening to a golf game. What do you think the world was doing last night? If you hated the United States, you were enjoying the show. If you were a country that's protected by the United States, you were shaking in your boots. Okay? But yeah, we're not talking about what needs to be talked about. The border, our economy collapsing, inflation. Okay, they try to talk about this thing. They brought these subjects up last night, which was I was strange that they asked JoJo these questions, even though he knew him beforehand. He had earpiece, okay, but he had to be coherent enough to recite what he was told to recite. Okay, but they did ask tough questions, not tough questions, questions the American people want to hear about. Inflation. You want to tell me there's no inflation? Kiss my butt. Okay. Everything's getting more expensive. I don't even eat fast food, but I heard a value meal is almost $20 now. Are you kidding me? Do you think I'm going to go to Burger King and pay for a Whopper with cheese and large fry and a drink almost $20? You're nuts. Okay. No. Okay. But and then of course they brought up Trump being a criminal, a convicted felon. And the only reason JoJo's not a convicted felon, remember, is because he's not competent to stand trial. And we all saw why last night. But he's in charge of our nuclear arsenal. Anyway, but he was drugged up. So we need to still focus on the problems of this country. You know, JoJo is a Democrat's problem. They're going to lose the election, okay? That's the Democrats' problem. That's not our problem. Let them worry about it, what they're going to do. You know, that gives us time to organize and establish. Okay, thank you, Carol. Thank you for stopping by. Anyway, but you know, it's a bad time. Okay, it's a bad time. So, and then the Supreme Court decision. You know, this country is about to be razed to the ground. The devil is loose in Bethlehem. Okay. how we survive this, you need to prepare for civil unrest. It's coming. 911's not going to work. Cell phone towers, cell phone service is going to be down. Supplies are going to stop moving. Okay? And if we don't have that, if we don't have internal strife, it doesn't matter. The spectacle the world got to see last night, when it even wakes CNN up, that's how shocking it was. Now, what we're going to have to live through, the American people in this country, because of the shock that we all received. It's not going to be a pretty sight. They have gone so far bonkers, and the people say, why did they do this to Joe? They set him up to get rid of him. No, I just think they did it because they're so far gone out of reality that they actually thought this was a good idea, that they actually thought he was going to clean Trump's clock. They're lost. They're watching this guy on stage, these people that handle him, like at Normandy and all the other instances where he's on stage. And they thought he was going to go up against Trump, or do they actually believe what they're saying about Trump? And Trump is an incoherent man. Are they believing their own press? And I think they are. But a lot of them woke up last night. The press sure did. So, anyway, it's going to be one crazy time till the election. Unless Trump really I don't know how Trump could screw up enough. He's not that much of a moron to screw up. He lives a life not to screw up anyway. He has high morals of himself. He has high expectations of himself. So he presents himself in a way that people aren't going to be able to judge him in a bad way if they're a clear-thinking individual. So, let's things are going to get bad. All empires come to an end, and it's a disastrous end. We got to take our part for the blame for this too, because we didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And there wasn't enough good conservatives running for office. Your neighbors get together. You got somebody that can run for office and do good and doesn't want to go to D.C. to become rich and do his time and then come back home to his job. That's the person that needs to go. Not somebody who wants to go there to better themselves. I mean, AOC, bartender, 4 years later owns a penthouse for $1.7 million. Those are the people we don't need in Congress. Or Nancy Pelosi, worth hundreds of millions. Well, no. Nancy Pelosi is just 750 years old, and she went to Congress the day she was born. That's how come she's got that amount of money. But anyway, I just wonder. These Democrats' phones are just probably hot as can be. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? As American people, what are we going to do? So, anyway, the 25th Amendment puts in camel toe Harris, whatever. Trump's going to be the next president if we have an election. It'll all be in the next few weeks what direction this is going to take, if he's going to stay in, if the Democrats are going to concede the election and he stays there, but they're not going to try to go with no election or start a war or terrorist attack or anything like that, or if they're going to replace him. Watch. The only winner they've had in the last 16 years is Barack Obama. And if they start hearing rumors about shifty stuff going on I mean, don't tell me they can't do it. How do you think they passed the IRS for the IRS and the income tax? Shenanigans. Total shenanigans. Don't say anything is impossible. But anyway, yeah, it was a crazy night. Crazy night. Anyway, I thank everybody for being here tonight. And we'll see what happens in the next week. Well, maybe we'll have more answers to the questions that I had for tonight. Okay. But like I said, we got a desperate and dangerous Democratic Party right now. We're definitely in flux. And after last night, had to smell the roses. So we'll see where this is all going to lead. Anyway, everybody have a good night. This is the Lone Wolf Prepper. Out.